fried chicken, also known as Southern fried chicken, although we would never say that here. It's just fried chicken, which is simply breaded chicken parts that have been deep fried. Now, that's the simple way of putting it, but the path to getting the meat to retain juices and the breading seasoned perfectly to add crispiness and flavor, that is worth a discussion. Meet us at the table as we discuss fried chicken.
I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth, and we are
Steel Magnolias, the strength of steel with the grace of a magnolia.
We are here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
And we've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Welcome back to the table that we have moved back from the Franklin Theater where we positioned it last week in front of 300 people. That was just the wildest experience we've had to date.
So fun. The table legs got all dusted off and cleaned and made shiny so it would look good on the stage.
It looked so pretty up there. So yes, if you were there live and in person, you got to see it. But hopefully you got to catch our episode last week with our interview. And I wanted to mention that we also launched merch for the event.
Cute merch.
Really cute merch.
Cozy merch.
The coziest sweatshirt ever.
That was the feedback. People were sending me a couple pictures in it, or like, this is the comfiest sweatshirt I've ever owned. I'm like, it's not just a cute color.
It is. It's a
cozy.
Really cute color. It's a kind of a deep bluish greenish color.
Tealish.
It's called Atlantic green. That's the sweatshirt. We have a t-shirt and we have a tea towel, all with our signature "Peace Be With Y'all" monogram on there.
That tea towel's Christmassy though, and it is precious.
So cute.
So all of it's cool.
For those that were not able to be at our event, we are going to make those available to you to purchase online. You can do that now through our website. So I'll put the link in the show notes if anybody wants to pick those up for yourself or for a gift this season.
Yeah.
Okay. How in the world have we not done an episode in 4 seasons on fried chicken?
So this was your idea, and I'm like, have we not done that yet in 4 years?
Well,
I guess not.
It comes up, but we've never done a dedicated episode on it. So
there's a lot to go over, and I'm still learning, y'all, by the way.
Well, I'm looking to her as the one that's going to talk about the specifics on actually frying it. But I'm just curious, what do you, just before we even get in, like, what do you think of when you hear or think of fried chicken?
Oh, I love that question. I think of Sunday supper, like a heavier meal, on a relaxed day. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm alone in thinking of Sunday supper, because I even think about certain menus like at Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
They have Sunday fried chicken like on Sunday. That's something that they don't have the other days of the week.
Yeah.
And I've seen that on other menus where they'll call it Sunday fried chicken.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
funny.
That's so fun. But that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Is like an after church meal on a relaxed afternoon.
Right. Which we've done an episode on Sunday dinner.
Yes.
Which is lunch.
And I picture
Sunday
it
supper is dinner.
Like on a table on a platter or in a bucket. Like, like I think of it like how it all is just positioned together, not on an individual plate.
Right.
For some reason, that's how I visualize it.
Yeah. Like the turkey at Thanksgiving, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like presentation is big and Well, I'm with you. I think of it as like comfort food, definitely.
For sure.
I think of The Help. I know I mentioned movies on here a lot, but I just think of that scene.
Many don't burn no chicken.
That's exactly the quote that I have in my notes here. But the scene that comes from is so cute because it's, so Minnie being the maid, the help, and she had been doing all the cooking for the white woman, and she'd been keeping it a secret from the husband of the house. And the white woman says, "Oh, well, he might figure out that I've been doing all this cooking because he knows I can't cook. So maybe we should burn some." And that's when Minnie says, "Minnie don't burn no chicken." So I love that movie so much. And then I think of just some of the, I'm going to call them fads of fried chicken being incorporated into shishi sorts of restaurants. The chicken and waffles.
Okay.
Or, do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Which I do like chicken and waffles, by the way.
But it feels,
yeah.
I don't know if chicken and waffles is going to stand the test of time. Like, it feels a little bit like
Trendy to
trendy.
you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And KFC.
That's
I think
the
of
other
KFC.
thing you think of?
Yes. So
Well, that's
we'll get into that later.
okay.
So let's just talk. You've fried chicken. You even fried chicken in celebration of our live event celebration that we had last week.
That's right.
And even that's kind of a funny thing. A lot of people now, the trendy thing is to have champagne and fried chicken. Did you know that?
Oh, I can see that. But no, I still think of a Pinot Noir when I think of fried chicken for some reason.
Yeah. So we were kind of doing a little double celebration. I had a birthday at the end of October, and we just wanted to sort of have a coming together of
Yes.
the post-event time from the podcast. So you fried chicken this past week.
I did. And I can go over my process, but like I said, I'm still learning. And it really encourages me sometimes when I've seen like interviews of a Sean Brock or somebody who you think of as mastered all things Southern cooking. And he says it still keeps him up at night sometimes thinking about how to, get it just right.
Sure.
And I loved your intro in that you do want the moisture on the inside, but the breading right on the outside. And that's not an easy thing to master.
I got that from watching you and your process this week. I could tell you were trying to master both of those things.
Yeah.
So, and
sometimes it does better than others that I can't always measure either. Like, what was it that made it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's too many factors.
Do the thing. But anyway.
Well, we did do some video that I'll either do an Instagram reel or do something with of your
showing a
preparation. So
things.
If you're not already, follow us on Instagram at Steel Magnolias Podcast. That's where I'll be putting up some of that stuff this week.
More of that. Well, let's start, I guess, with buying chicken.
At the grocery store, what are we buying?
So I do find now, not to go negative, because this is uplifting conversations about life in the South, but it's really hard to get things the way you want them sometimes in the grocery store when the employees don't really want to be there.
Yeah, they don't care and they don't know.
So meaning like the person behind the meat counter doesn't really want to have to cut meat for some reason, it seems to me, on the few times that I've had to ask for something.
Wow.
It's not every single one.
Right.
But often that's the case. And so we're in a world of people liking a lot of boneless chicken now.
Yes.
And Lainey don't cook no boneless chicken if she's frying it.
Yeah.
Many may not burn any, but I want bone-in. Because bone-in chicken is way more flavorful.
Right.
Than boneless.
That's not a Lainey preference. You can ask any chef.
That is just truth.
And they will... Yes.
That's just truth. I'm sorry.
Gospel truth
that
right
ain't
there.
my truth. That is the truth.
Okay. So you're saying even talking to the butcher about cutting up a whole chicken because it's hard to find the bone-in already prepped out on the shelves.
Sometimes.
Is that what you're saying?
So I used to see where you would see like a long rectangular platter that had 2 legs, 2 thighs, 2 wings. The breast.
Yeah, the breast.
Like, come on. That's just what you want, or those parts. And so now what I typically see, if they have bone-in chicken,
okay,
it's like, here's 4 humongous breast. Here's
yes
6 or 8 thighs.
So you're getting all of one part. Okay.
And so if you're wanting to cook for a crowd that likes different parts,
right?
I'm at like $60 because I've just had to buy.
You've invested so much in eat. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That many of everything,
right,
instead of like a chicken cut up.
So really hard to find the parts for a
Getting
family.
Harder too.
Or like it'd be like for a huge crowd, you could do
Right.
that. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And then sometimes they'll have a whole chicken, but then the person behind the meat counter, and I'm not using the word butcher because I don't think they think of themselves as that. Mm-hmm. A butcher obviously will do it for you.
Sure.
But this person that's just
Yeah. They just are there to tag the meat, they think. Or,
Yes.
that's kind of their inventory.
they don't want to have
They
to
don't
cut
wanna-
that up.
yeah.
And in all truthfulness, I don't want to have to do it either because I don't really
Right.
know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And I have said this on the podcast before. I get a little grossed out with cartilage and
Sure.
bones and things that
I think a lot of people, I would say the same. A lot of
so
people.
I like it already cut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay,
but
so
let's say we found what we
You've got
want.
your bone-in parts of chicken. Yes. Hopefully a variety.
Yes. And so I think one of the important steps in frying chicken is to get that moisture to stay inside. You need to put it in a brine.
Okay.
And there's lots of different recipes for different brines out there. But think like the difference of, when you go to Chick-fil-A and how moist that chicken is.
So moist. Yes.
They have it in a brine.
Okay.
They use some kind of a pickle brine.
Okay. I
There.
didn't know that. Okay.
And so that's why it's so moist.
It's so moist. Yep. So you're talking about a wet brine.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, a wet brine that is mostly salt based.
Okay.
Because the salt gets in there and makes it hold moisture.
Nice. Okay.
And so I'm happy to share the recipe I use.
Yeah.
But mine is lemons, bay leaves, flat leaf parsley, thyme, clover honey, garlic, black peppercorns, kosher salt, and water.
All of that's in a big old pot.
Yes, and you bring it all to a boil.
Yeah.
The recipe I have is for 2 gallons that is for cooking 10 pounds of chicken. So I usually don't make that much. 'Cause
Okay. Did you make about half that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when they see this online, I'm just giving
Yeah.
reference point for that. Okay. And this is at least a day in advance, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the things too is you can't really spring fried chicken on me because I need at least a 2-day process to get all of this together. So once you put it in this brine, you make the brine, you bring it to a boil, but you let it cool completely all the way down because you wouldn't want to put meat in hot brine because it's going to start cooking.
Yeah.
So let it cool all the way down, and then you're going to put your chicken in that for up to 12 hours.
And are we putting it in the fridge?
And you're putting it in the fridge.
For up to 12 hours?
For up to 12 hours in that brine. Not longer than that or it's going to start getting too salty.
Okay.
But 12 hours is good, and that's what I did was exactly 12 hours. So I let it cool down. I put the chicken in at like 10 at night, knowing that by 10 the next morning I could take it out.
Okay.
So then you completely discard all that brine. It's going to be kind of yucky looking. Get rid of all of that. Clean your chicken off because sometimes
rinse them
bits
off.
of bay leaves or peppercorns are stuck on it.
Yeah.
So you clean all of that off. And then in my situation, I wasn't cooking it till the afternoon. So I cleaned it all off and then put it back in the fridge.
Okay. But it's ready to go to start cooking at that point.
Yes. And no matter what you're doing with chicken, you can brine it. Like if you're roasting it or whatever, it's going to help.
Yes.
Because now it's got that moisture in there.
Then I love this next part because I think this is so pro. Talk about your bowl system.
Okay. Well, so the next thing I want to say, though, is it's good to get your chicken down to room temperature before you start doing the next thing.
Okay.
And that can take like an hour.
Yeah.
So leave it just sitting out for about an hour.
Okay.
So it's getting back down to room temperature. And then I do this little bowl system. So I have 3 bowls. Mm-hmm. Bowl 1 and 3 are for the breading. And bowl 2 is for my buttermilk.
Okay.
And so what I do is I put flour and then my seasonings together. Mm-hmm. And, whatever, if you have a recipe that you like better, just however you want to do it, you can still do this bowl system if you would like. But I do flour, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, cayenne, a little salt and pepper, and I do the same amounts in bowls 1 and 3.
Okay.
Just mix it up.
Okay.
And so the flour still looks pretty white.
Sure.
But maybe you might see a little bit of
Speckles.
speckles in
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
with those flavors. So I'll take the chicken part, put it in bowl 1, kind of gets a little coating on there. And then I dip it in the buttermilk, which is now kind of sealing that in a little bit. Let some of that drip off, and then put it in bowl 3 for more
For it to stick to now, even better.
flour, so that it's really nice and covered.
Yeah.
And then I'll just sit it on a piece of parchment paper or something, ready to go in the hot oil when
Right.
the oil's hot.
Right.
Do that with all your pieces.
Yep.
And then we're going to start to put it in the oil.
Yep.
Now, to put it in the oil, you want your oil already hot.
What oil? What's the oil?
Good question. So the oil that you can use, peanut oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. Some people like lard.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
shortening or a Crisco or something like that. I used vegetable oil the other day because that's what I had.
Okay.
But I have used canola or peanut before too.
Okay.
And some people like to cook it like in a deep fryer. I don't have a deep fryer.
Right.
So I use I fill my brazier dish with about 1/3 to 1/2 of the depth of it with oil.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to cook one side and then flip.
Yeah. So it's literally boiling hot, right? Do you have
You
a
want it-
temperature gauge that you put
I
in?
actually do have a little temperature gauge, and you want it at about 320 degrees.
Wow.
So really
Okay.
hot.
Okay.
So have an apron on. And
Yeah.
have your,
Yeah.
it's going to sometimes
Splatter.
splatter a little. There's no way around that, really.
Okay.
So you get your oil hot, and I will say that the dark meat and the smaller pieces are going to cook faster
True.
than your big breast white meat pieces are going to cook. So I like to do all of one and then maybe crank the heat up even a little more
Okay.
to get it even hotter for the
What's your
big pieces.
What's your estimation on a smaller to medium piece on how long it would cook? How long total it would fry? Are we talking 10 minutes?
So typically it'll say if you look at a recipe, it'll say 7 or 8 minutes each side.
Okay.
I cook it longer than that.
Okay.
Usually.
And you can always
I'm
get a
looking at it
meat thermometer to check.
Yeah, you want, once it's out and you put a meat thermometer into the center, you want it at like 165. Mm-hmm.
That's standard, yeah.
So just for safety.
And so for a big piece, we're talking, what, 25
take a
minutes?
while.
30 minutes,
So
maybe?
I guess a deep fryer might be faster because it's going all the way in, whereas
Yeah.
I'm having to flip.
Yeah, that's going to
pieces.
play into the KFC story I'm going to share here in a minute. Yeah, yeah. Seriously, time is of the essence for a lot of these places. So
Yeah, that's true. So that's what I do. And then I like to have a paper towel lined
like a baking sheet or
baking
something.
sheet
Yeah.
to soak up some of the oil when I put it out on that. And
And you did such a pretty job putting it on a plate with like fresh herbs, rosemary, and thyme.
yeah,
just
they
kind of
sell a little, I think they call it poultry
The poultry
blend or
herbs,
something.
yeah,
And it
yes.
has the thyme, rosemary, and sage. And it does look pretty on the
very
plate
pretty.
or platter that you put it on.
Well, it was delicious. Eat it with your hands. No need to put out
I love
serving
that you
knives.
say that because we had Miss Rachel from England here who hasn't probably had a ton of fried chicken. And she asked for a knife. And I'm like, happy to get you a knife. But just so you know, it's perfectly fine to pick up fried chicken
Yes.
and eat it with your hands.
Yes. I wonder, yeah, I mean, okay, so let me just start talking about the international sort of touch that she might have had. I saw plenty of KFCs when I was in Europe. In Spain.
I believe KFC is the largest or most numerous fast food in the world.
That sounds about right.
And the Asians love KFC. It is
so
the
funny.
by far most popular fast food you'll see throughout China. And,
Wow.
yeah, they love it.
So we're talking Kentucky Fried Chicken, the iconic old man with his glasses,
Colonel
and
Sanders.
white goatee. So Colonel Sanders, he had a troubled childhood, and after losing his father at just the age of 5, his mom had to go to work to provide for their family, and therefore he started taking care of his siblings.
Okay.
And so he was cooking a lot.
Yeah.
She showed him,
The basics.
ways to cook and things to make, but he was cooking more than the average 10, 11-year-old kid was. And so he actually left home at age 12 to work on a farm. And then he went through lots of jobs trying to figure out what he was going to do, or probably see what could make him the most money. I don't know. He was a painter. He was a fireman, a plowman, a streetcar conductor, a ferry boat operator, an insurance salesman,
Oh my goodness.
justice of the peace, and a service station operator. How's that for a resume?
Wow. I thought I'd tried a lot of things.
So we are talking about a little area of Kentucky that is Corbin, Kentucky. It was 1929, and he opened his, it was really a gas station, and that was where he began to cook for the occasional customer in the back room. There just kind of started to be a need for food while filling up, and so he knew how to cook, and so he started doing this. Now, as somebody sitting here at age 41, it's very interesting to me to hear that Colonel Sanders really got cracking at about age 49.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, because you heard all the list of jobs that I just,
so it
those
takes a
weren't
while
all
to go
6-month
through those.
stints, know?
Wow.
And so, so if you look at when KFC was incorporated, he was 65.
Wow.
He lived to age 90, so he did see a good bit of its, wild success. But back to the gas station, where it's taking him around 30 minutes to cook fried chicken,
Okay.
which was a significant problem for
Yeah, I mean, but that's normal.
Right.
But,
The
how are
fried
you going to do it quickly
the
when
fried-
somebody's on a lunch break?
Exactly. Or when they're just there they thought they were here for gas, but you've got food, I'll wait and get some fried chicken. Oh, it's going to be 30 minutes. Now I'm late, kind of a thing. But that was his most popular menu item, was the fried chicken. And so to tackle this problem, right, necessity is the motherhood of inventions.
That's right.
He used a pressure cooker instead of deep frying the chicken, and that cut down the time to about 8 to 9 minutes, and it helped him sell more fried chicken. So he continued to experiment with his chicken recipe, and in 1938, he finally perfected the fried chicken recipe. The recipe included 11 herbs and spices, which to this day are guarded as a secret by KFC. And as of this year, 2022, there are at least 25,000 KFC restaurants in 145 countries.
Wow.
That is like the American dream.
It really is.
So
I love
amazing.
that it was birthed out of a gas station, because I'm telling you, there's some gas stations with some good fried chicken.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I've also thought about, like, sometimes when you've walked in a gas station and you leave smelling like
Yes.
they've been frying foods in
Yes.
there. Like, there's no way around that smell sometimes.
So just while we're on the sort of the topic of chain restaurants, I did want to mention Popeyes also has extremely good fried chicken. They're a chain. Publix grocery stores
For
have
real.
really good fried chicken.
They're known for their fried chicken. It's funny that you mentioned that he said 30 minutes, because I went to get some bone-in fried chicken. They do both. They do the tenders that are boneless.
Yeah.
They're not as good. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Yeah.
Get Publix's bone-in fried chicken.
Yeah.
But I went in and they were out of it, and they said, we'll have more in 30 minutes.
Oh, how
And I was
funny.
like, well, I guess I'll get a couple
You're like,
groceries. I wasn't planning on it, but
You're like, well, at least I know I'm doing it right.
that's right.
And then I miss so bad Mrs. Winter's biscuits.
Oh, are those
chicken.
nowhere now?
So, well, just in thinking back, any gathering where chicken was being brought to something, whether it was a family gathering or a soccer after game sort of picnic or whatever, we brought Mrs. Winter's a lot
That's
when I
so
was
cute.
growing up. And so, and they had the most amazing biscuits and gravy. But in thinking through this episode, I was like, where are Mrs. Winters now? Like, are they completely gone? Because ours have, the one we had in
there's none around
Brentwood
here.
has been gone for a long time. And it looks like they are trying to make a little bit of a resurgence.
Okay.
There are locations, and I'll link to them in the show notes. Tennessee only has one right now, and it's in Cleveland. That's close to
Okay.
Chattanooga. But Georgia had a handful of them. And, there was, 20, 25 locations that I saw smatterings of. So they are still out there. So if you are near one and you haven't tried Mrs. Winters, that's my choice for sure. But
Now, Memphis birthed a great fried chicken joint too.
yes, not a chain in the chain that we're talking about,
not like
but
a
yes,
KFC, but Gus's
fried
don't
chicken.
they call it world famous fried chicken?
They do, and it tops a lot of lists if you look on different, who's got the best restaurants, Southern Fried Chicken. Barbecue Inn out of Houston, Texas is one that I found on a couple of lists that's supposedly really good, as well as Martha Lou's Kitchen in Charleston and Willie Mae's Scotch House in New Orleans.
Okay. Popeyes didn't make anybody's list.
Well, I'm just talking about kind of the individual, not the big chains.
Oh, gotcha.
But
gotcha.
but no,
I feel like I've heard of Martha Lou's.
Popeyes and Publix and KFC are always on people's lists.
Yeah.
There's a Southern Living list that includes lots of different categories of good fried chicken. So like hip new places that are doing fried chicken, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, Husk here in Nashville is kind of supposed to be really good for their fried chicken, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
That's Sean Brock's. Yeah.
well, yeah,
We
no
gotta-
shame if you want to just go pick up some yummy fried chicken and put some sage and thyme and rosemary around
That's
it
right.
and act like you did it.
That's right. Or if you want to serve it with waffles. If you're
So that's interesting.
making it with doing the chicken and waffles like we described.
I do think that there's something so wonderful about the salty fried chicken with the sweetness of syrup.
I get that. And you do put syrup on it, just like you
Right.
would if you were just eating a waffle.
And, we've mentioned, we did an episode on sorghum,
Mm-hmm.
and sorghum is what Sean Brock brines his chicken in.
Okay.
When he makes fried chicken, he does a salt sorghum brine. And I have one recipe. I did it once. I didn't like it as much, but it was molasses salt brine. Just to try it. And it was good, but I like just a salty, lemony brine.
No,
I really like the lemon to
and
come
then
through.
Talk about filling. Oh my goodness. Fried chicken alone can fill you up.
Well, that's another reason. For some reason, I think it's perfect on a Sunday. It
Yes.
just feels like the day you want to have a big meal and then take a little short nap.
Gosh, that sounds wonderful even now. We also need to mention Nashville hot chicken.
Okay.
So,
yes.
I think you and I kind of still think it's funny to hear Nashville associated with hot chicken, but alas, here we are.
Yeah.
We have a lot of foods in this city, but for some reason, Nashville hot chicken has risen to the top and become what we are known for. Fried chicken that the African American community has taken to the next level is really what we're talking about as the origins of hot chicken.
Yeah.
And that's just cayenne pepper making it hot. It literally comes out with a reddish hue.
100% reddish
red.
hue. And I looked up a recipe just to see how do they make that, because it looks like it's thick.
Sure.
And now I know how. So this recipe that I have here from this cookbook is Nashville hot based. And it's 3 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of onion powder. But this is what I thought was so fascinating. All of that with 1 cup of the hot frying oil from your batch of fried chicken.
Oh.
So you're putting more oil on it,
it.
which is, and it's going to be red because once you've put all that
Sure.
cayenne and
It's
everything
liquid,
in
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And it's liquid, so it's almost like you're painting it. Does that make
Uh-huh.
sense?
Yes.
With this spice. And I know at Prince's, they have, different degrees of
Yes.
heat.
Yes.
And I think medium is what they recommend if you're
a newbie.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
I would be on the lightest of lights.
But they do not just hot, but extra hot.
Yeah.
And I know I'm out.
No, I would
on
be that like Dumb and Dumber moment where they're just they've had the red hots that they're squirting their tongue with mustard. It's so hot. And you mentioned Prince's. Prince's is the original hot chicken
of Nashville
that's been serving chicken for over 70 years. In 2013, the James Beard Foundation named Prince's as an American classic, which is an award that designates a restaurant with timeless appeal. And what's funny about Prince's is their hours are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the line at 10 p.m. is usually the longest of the day.
Oh my
way
gosh,
longer than
that's
lunchtime.
Hysterical.
There is a national fried chicken festival, which just happened last month in New Orleans. So it's an annual event. It's just about their 5th year, I believe. But it happens annually now in New Orleans. And Andre Prince Jeffries, the sort of matriarch of Prince's, she was given an award to commemorate her career with the 2022 Culinary Icon Award just last month at that festival. So I wanted to mention a big congrats to them.
That's very cool.
I'm glad to see them getting the recognition that they deserve for pioneering Nashville hot chicken.
I saw an Anthony Bourdain one time episode where he was eating the extra hot and was like begging for milk because it was just so crazy hot.
Oh my gosh.
So be careful, seriously. If you're trying to show out in front of your friends, that's no small thing.
Right. Yeah. But I guess that's very much some pride for some people, but yeah, I would take their degrees seriously.
That's right.
That can hurt.
Well, but there is just something so nourishing and comforting in feeding people.
Oh yeah.
That kind of nostalgic food, and I think that is probably the most iconic Southern food. Barbecue too, but there's just something about fried chicken that just says the South.
It does. And we love just what you were just implying, that it's usually made to feed a group or a family or
a gathering,
people gathered around a table. So what better symbol of Southern hospitality than that, right? Well, finally, we can check this off of our list of topics. We are officially a Southern podcast now, right? We've covered fried chicken. If you haven't already, like I mentioned, follow us on Instagram at Steel Magnolias Podcast. We'll be posting some photos and videos this week, just of fun fried chicken
tips,
videos.
Things I'm still learning, but
yeah. And check out our new merch. I'll link to the shop, and we just can't wait to see some of you guys once you get your sweatshirts and tea towels to see them hanging in your own home.
That's right. Please share those photos with us.
Yes.
It's fun to see.
Yes.
Well, peace be with you, Laura Beth.
Thank you. And also with y'all.